Alright, we are back. Let me close this door. So, okay, we're going to continue with this feature on filtering different views. So, I was thinking about this last night and about how I can make this a bit better. And one thing that I think is giving us trouble, and I kind of mentioned this in the original video, is that we have these things here, our functions feeding like the display strings to render in a view, and they kind of depend on the GUI state to some extent. But they also depend on our filtered state. And we were saying it'd be fantastic if we could have this filtering logic living inside the context, given that there's probably some way to dry it up. But it's kind of tricky to then get that filter state back out here where we need to make use of the GUI state. So what I'm thinking is, if we look at all the places where we're actually using the GUI state, so we need the screen mode, we need the modes thing here, we need the model that relates to the current context, modes again, the model that relates to the current context, modes, same deal, yep. So, and then, okay, searching gets search string, so we need that needle at some point. This thing's referring to itself, which is not great, and we could probably fix that up if we move this thing inside the context. Screen mode, modes, mode. We've got this should show graph thing, which depends on modes as well. So we could probably move that into our contexts package as well. What else have we got? Helpers, so we'll need that. The user config, we can get that from our common thing, which we should already have access to. Helpers, modes, model, and that's referring to this. Okay, user config. So I think this one's using Git patch manager, so we'll probably need to maybe add that as well. So it sounds like we could get away with just having, because this is fairly uniform, like the one thing that sticks out is maybe this thing here, but I don't think that's a big deal. So I'm thinking we create a new, let's think about this. So I'm thinking we create an interface which will just have some methods for like fetching these things when we need them. We can define the interface in the context package, but then we can actually create an instance of it, like using a bespoke struct in this package, the GUI package. So if we can do that, then we should be able to move our filtering logic into our actual contexts. And so that should hopefully allow us to dry that up. So let's think about how I'm going to do that. Let's go to context, what's it called? Context. So it's this thing here. Okay, let's add a new file to this guy, and we'll call, well, it's just an interface. I might just call it types.go. So, what will I call it? GUI state? What does it need? So it needs, well, it's not really a GUI. Yeah, GUI state should work. Okay, so I need modes. So, so that could be like whether you're in filtering mode or searching mode or whatever. We're going to need the, I guess, list of items. I don't know if it's a good idea to give like the entire model of the GUI state to each context because it's probably a bit more information than they need. So what I'll do instead is I'm just going to have a like items method, and it's just going to return t, where t could be anything. So it could be, you know, branches or commits or whatever. Okay, what else do we need? We need the needle. So one thing I want to do is I want to have a method that returns the search needle, but only if the given context actually is being searched on. So this GUI state is going to be defined for a given context, and so I don't need to, you know, internally check, oh, does this needle apply to me? needle might actually not be the best word for this when it's kind of out of the searching, like it's not obvious that that's the context, but I'll maybe just say here, this is the search string when we're in filtering mode. I think it's okay for now. Okay, so what else we have? Some modes, model. Oh yeah, screen mode. Okay, so that's a type that's defined in my actual GUI package. So I'm gonna have to move that out into my GUI types. Where does that live? Oh, types slash, let's see, common has a few different things. Let's chuck it in here. Okay, I'll have to go and update everywhere that uses it. Oops. It'd be cool if there was a refactoring thing in VS Code that lets you extract something out to a different package and then go and add the package name as a prefix for everything. That might actually exist, but I've never really come across it before. I should mention that I did do a bit of a, oh Jesus, what the hell is that? A brief practice run of this earlier, so I have a bit of an idea about how I'm going to do this, but we'll see if I hit any snags. Okay, does this compile? Yes. So, okay, that's good. So I've got screen mode, and the screen mode is going to be a, where am I? I'm in context. Types.window maximization. Cool. What else do I need? Let's see. So we've got search string. Should show graph, get selected. This thing is asking whether what is it? The commits context is the current context. So what we would ideally prefer to be doing here is just asking the question, am I focused? So let's have a is focused, which returns a bool. And so GUI state maybe isn't the best word for it. It's more like a GUI context state, because it's like the context state from the perspective of the GUI. Context GUI state, yeah. This is, let's see here. It's for obtaining info about the GUI's state, as well as state related to the given context. Okay, so if there's more things that we've forgotten, we'll just come back and fix that later. So let's think, what am I going to do? So what I want to do is I want to have like a thing which actually implements this interface, and which I can construct from my from this package. So let's see, GUI context state. I guess I'll just maybe create a file in here called that. So save it as GUI context state.go. So I'm going to call it my GUI type GUI context trait, no, state. It should probably be, well, I'll just call it, what's a good name for this? I guess it's a fetcher. It's going to actually do fetching to go and obtain this information, whereas the interface presupposes you already have it, or doesn't really care how you get it. So, but this is kind of like fetching the information. So I'll just take the GUI struct itself, and I'll also, I want a context key, I guess, which is a types.context key. Does that work? And then I also want, I'm going to make it pass in a function just to give the model. So it's kind of a roundabout way of doing things, but I think it at least means we can satisfy the interface without having to go and create some new thing for that. So I'll just call this like get items. Function, it's going to return a slice of t, and this will have to be generic. Okay, so let's grab this thing. Let's satisfy the interface. So first of all, let's actually say nothing. Where's this defined? Context.GUI context state equals GUI context state fetcher. It's kind of weird. It's called GUI context state fetcher. That suggests it would return something that implements the interface. But this is actually the thing itself. But it feels weird calling it just GUI context state. GUI context state. I don't know. To do better name. I'm terrible at naming things. Okay, so do this. It's complaining about something. What do I call this thing? Let's bring this guy over here. This is going to be modes. Pointer modes.modes. Oh, sorry, I need the actual name of the function. Modes. Return self.GUI.modes. No, .state.modes. Is that right? That's complaining because it's generic. Oops. T. Can I make this? I think I'm allowed to do this. Any. How did I do this last time? Let's do that. Cannot use literal value of type T. I did this recently. This guy. Oh, that's interesting. In this case, it was a non-generic interface, but a generic struct. So I wonder if I could just, if I have to just say, pick some random type, like int, that should work. Oh, it doesn't work. What are you complaining about? Oh, good. It's the good kind of error where it says you're missing methods. That's exactly what this thing is for. But if I said any, is it the same deal? Okay, good. Cool, so it's complaining because I don't have an is focused thing. So let's add that. Is focused. And how do I find out? Let's go self.GUI.currentContext. Dot get key equals self.contextKey. What else? What's next? What's over here? Modes, items. This is just going to be directly calling that method, the get items method. Okay, needle. What was I doing over here for that? If I'm searching in this context, I'll use fuzzy search items. All I actually need is the needle, so I'm just going to copy this. So let's just do this. If self.GUI.state.modes.searching, probably a bit easier to just say modes.searching. If it's searching in this context for the context key, I'm going to return this thing, but I can just say modes here because it's easier. Searching not get search string. Otherwise, I return nothing. And that should return a string. Oops. And that should be self.modes. Okay, so the idea here is that if you happen to, so maybe we are searching, but you happen to not be the context we're searching for, then as far as you're concerned, you do not have a needle, and we'll just express that with an empty string. Okay, so what have we got? Modes, items, needle is focus, modes, items, needle, and we're missing screen mode. Come on, context state fetcher. Turn self dot GUI dot state dot screen mode. Okay. So now we're good. This thing's not happy. So yes, that's good. And we haven't even used this anyway yet. So if we didn't have this line here, we'd have to depend on some call site telling us it was wrong. But I find that, again, I find this very useful. Okay. So now we have this thing that can let us get the state that we need. So let's go and take our branches list context, and we'll see if we can get this thing happening inside here. So I'm going to make it take. Actually, no. I need one more thing here. I need to actually add a constructor for this. So let's say new GUI context. This thing. It's going to return a pointer to this guy. Oops. And it has to be generic. T. Any. I'm just going to return one of T. Okay. Return GUI context state fetcher T. Where GUI, I'm going to have to pass in the GUI. I'm going to pass in the context key. I'm going to pass in get items function return by T. Okay, let's close this guy. Why is that not? Oh, whatever. Oops. Cool. Okay, that's unused. That's fine. I'm going to make use of it here. GUI. What's the other one? Context, local branches, context key, and then get items, which will be, I guess, it's going to be a direct function. Okay, cool. So yes, this thing could have just been instead like a function that takes the GUI state and then goes state.model.branches, but like it's probably just more complication than it needs right now, given that I already kind of have this thing in scope. And it's kind of, I know it's a code smell, but I just don't anticipate having any issues from doing this. And if I do have issues, it'll be trivially easy to fix. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to do that now for simple, just so that the reader finds it simpler when they come across it. Okay, so that's my thing here. Now this will complain because I'm passing it something that it doesn't really need or recognize. So now I'll take this thing called GUI context state, which is a GUI context state. And that interestingly needs a generic type. Oh yes, that's just models.branch. Okay, so I'll now take that, and what will I do with it? So let's see, we've got this thing called a basic view model. We saw that in the previous video where it's got a get model function and a cursor, and it works with that. So what would be cool is if we had something that wrapped this struct, and we handled the filtering in that. So here's what I'm thinking we're going to do. I'm going to copy and paste this thing and call it filtered list view model dot go. Let's bring in this filtered list view model. Okay, now I'm just going to embed this guy, the basic view model. So I'm going to go pointer to a basic view model. I think that's all I need. And what I'm going to ask is not just get model, but I want to also take a couple other things. So I want to take, what do I need to filter this thing? I need the needle and I need the toString function. So let's do get needle, change the string, function that returns a string, and then finally toString, just a function that will take my t and return a string. That's so that I can actually check if the needle is within the string. Okay, so everything's complaining. Let's make this thing generic. And I'm gonna, in the end, I'll return, well, I guess I'll just return this thing. I'm gonna return that thing. I can get rid of this, I think. But internally it's gonna have a basic view model, which will be new basic view model t, and what will that take? That takes get model. So what I wanna have is like a get filtered model function that returns an array of t. And I'll pass it into here. Okay, cool. So now I just got to give this thing a definition. So let's steal what I was doing over here. So what does this thing do? Let's grab that. So let's see. I'm just going to paste it here so I can look at it. Okay, so get needle. Okay, so first of all, if get needle, let's just get my needle here. If needle is a blank string, return get model. Actually, I'm going to have to get my model anyway, so in get model, I'd rather just call it like get items. Right, if our needle is an empty string, we'll just return the items. Otherwise, I'm going to say return this thing. Fuzzy search items, this is going to be our needle items, and this function will be our toString function. Okay, so I don't need you anymore. And this is telling me there's an unnecessary type argument. Cool, so this is going to wrap our basic view model, which will then be handling like the cursor and stuff like that. And it means I should be able to easily, because I'm embedding this struct, if I call on this guy, like dot length, that will just end up getting forwarded to where is it, this guy. So back over here, I should now be able to say new basic, no, what is it? New filtered view model? New filtered list view model. Okay. And what's that going to take? So it's going to have to take a couple of things. I'm just going to put this guy over here so I can remember. So it takes, let's just get this on its own line. So it's get, I guess, this is fine. I'm going to rename this to get items. Get items. So get items, and I guess actually this thing's now redundant because we've got this guy here. So I'm going to get rid of this, and this, I'm going to go dot items. And then over here, I'm going to go GUI context state dot needle. Although, funnily, I actually shouldn't be calling the method itself. I should just be giving it the function. And then the toString. That's interesting. So I think actually toString should live in here. So currently it's defined where I have this guy. Let's just put that here inline. Okay, I'll close this now. So what we're doing here, so we're saying got items, needle, and a function that takes my branch and just returns the branch's name. Okay, cool. And now this is no longer a basic view model. This is now going to be a filter list view model. Okay, and it's all still working, so that's good. Okay, now this is complaining because I'm still passing in filtered branches, so I'll stop doing that. Although now I've got this problem where I need to still have this thing accessible within this function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this also into my context. So, and let me just check if my cat wants to come in. In you come. Okay. I wonder if we can get to my standing desk. Alright, so let's just go in here and see if I can just paste this guy in here. So get filtered, what is it? Get display strings. So that's this guy. So previously it was being passed in. I'm no longer going to do that. I'm going to define it inline. Get filtered branches is now going to be view model dot. Is it dot get model? Let's see how this works. This is my view model. It does not itself define a get model method, but my basic view model does, and that is defined by receiving the filtered model. So this guy, by calling, how does it even do that? Oh, it passes to a basic view model. So it's even going, it's even doing more nesting. No, this is the basic view model. Yes, get model is an actual field. Interesting. That's fine. So I should be good to just do that. So where am I? Branches context, view model.get model, so that should work. And then GUI.state.screen_mode is not equal to screen normal. So in here, I'm going to instead use my GUI context state.screen_mode is not equal to normal, and then here I'm going to use GUI context state.modes.diffing.ref. Okay, and this guy is also going to be, I think I can just use c.tr. This is just like my, just common stuff that I might need to use, like logging and translating and stuff like that. Okay, so that's now defined. I'm passing it into here, and it's complaining because, oh, modes is a function I should be calling. And now this is complaining. Why is that complaining? Can I use, oh, should I be actually invoking it? Okay, cool. Okay, so that's good. Now, back over here, we can lose this. And now it's happy. So then now the ultimate question is, does it compile? Cool, I can go in here and go merge, feature, sweet. Okay, so let's just save this as it is. So, start moving things into context package. Okay, cool. So we've established a way, hopefully, to make this pretty dry. So look at my branches context again. We now have this new filtered list view model, which just takes our items, our needle, and our function. It's gonna kind of suck that I'm gonna be duplicating these two things across the files when all that really changes is this bit. But I can't offhand think of a convenient way of solving that problem without making it a bit more gnarly. So I think this is okay. Let's see. Items, needle, yeah, I think it's okay. Alright, and then this guy uses my model, screen modes. Okay, cool. So I guess now it's just a matter of kind of going through here and I guess updating things to the new form. So let's see, menu context. Let's have a look at this guy. It's interesting. So it has its own view model, but it's using a basic view model. So hopefully we can just kind of do the same thing. And let's see, get item display string. That's interesting. It already has its own get display strings, which is very interesting. Okay, on menu press. So I'm just thinking about where's the right place to do this. So interestingly, let's see, menu items. So in this case with the menu, we actually set the menu items within the context itself. Presumably because maybe a menu doesn't really, it's not really the same as like actually having a, like a Git model that you're actually needing in other places. So if it's only needed in the menu, maybe it's being used here for that reason. But at any rate, we can still try to get this working. So let's replace this with a filtered list view model. Okay, now what does that take? We need get items, get needle, and toString. So in this case, get items actually is just going to be this thing. So self dot, I guess it'd be a function that returns menu items, menu item. Okay, and then it's let's put this guy back over here again. Get items, get needle, and toString. How do I get my needle? So I'm gonna need to pass in to this guy my GUI state fetcher thingo. So let's go and add that to here. Funnily, this is tricky because I'm not going to be able to define the thing that returns my menu items from the outside, so I'll need to look into that. It might actually be that it's not a good idea for me to have the items thing as part of this, and it kind of was sticking out like a sore thumb because we're just kind of calling a function that you're passing to here anyway. So I'm actually thinking I'm gonna lose that and get rid of all this stuff. Let's see, modes, needle, screen mode, and then in my interface, which is this guy here, I'll lose the items. And now this doesn't even need to be generic, so that's kind of convenient. Okay, so now that I've done that, I should go and fix up my branches. So here, previously it was generics, no longer. I want to still take my get items function, which just returns my branches. So let's just call that directly. Okay, that's now happy. And let's see, menu context doesn't need that anymore. Is anything angry here? Too many arguments? I would have thought it'd be not enough arguments. Oh, sorry, it's complaining about the actual thing here. So this gets moved to here. And now this, yeah, this should take 2 arguments. What's the problem? It cannot infer T. Right, because we no longer actually need T here. Yep. Okay. So that's not happy, and then back over in my menu context, I've got my thingo to fetch my state. So I'm going to have to pass that in to my view model. And and then back to this filtered list view thing. So let's see. My cat's sneezing behind me. So the first thing is get items, which is just this. That's fine. Second thing is get needle, which is going to be self.GUI context state.needle. And then finally my toString thing, which I can just go and do right now. It's going to be a function that takes a pointer to a menu item, and then it returns label columns, tooltip, key. So label columns is for when you want to have different like similar to like one of these views where you have columns of things. You can also have that in the menus. So for example, here we're using two different columns, so we wouldn't be using the label argument there, or the label field. So I guess this probably needs to be a little bit specific. So if item.label is not equal to an empty string, then return item.label. Otherwise, return strings.join label columns, and I'll just join it with a space, I guess. And why? I gotta do a comma. Okay. So that's fair enough. So that's going to give me my filtered list view model. And I guess now, let's see, I need to pass in my new GUI context state fetcher, and I'm going to use context.menu, context key. And I need more arguments. What else do I need? My GUI itself. Okay, let's see if that works. I have a weird suspicion that it won't work. Toggle. Yeah, it doesn't work. Why is that? So what have we done with the branches that we haven't done with our menu? New filtered list view model. You can get the needle. It's got the menu items. Here's how you find out what the string is. If it's present, you use the label. Otherwise, you use label columns. Get display strings. This needs to make use of my filtered stuff. So let's see. Self.filtered list view model. So here, that's interesting. So here I'm actually using self.menu items, but I really don't want to be. Actually, no, it's appropriate to use it here. This is the actual menu items. When I'm displaying things, I want it to be my filtered ones. So I'm going to go self.get model, I guess, like we're doing in the other one. I don't really like model as the name here because it's not really the model, it's more the view model, but how easily could I change that? I'm not sure. Where else do we have it? So get key bindings, that's fine. And that's fine. Okay. Let's give that a go. Hey, okay, amend. Stage. What else is there? Commit. View. Options, ... Sweet. Refresh. That's funny. So if I actually jump back into here, so if I go, oops, refresh, if I actually press enter, it goes and resizes it. That's interesting. If I go back out here again, I go blah or options. Okay, I come back in here, it expands it. Not the best experience. It kind of sounds like I shouldn't be resizing it after it's initially created. I'll need to make a note of that. I'll just put it to do. Don't resize after filtering. Anyway, that's pretty cool. Because I found it even myself. Hang on. If I go in here, it's still filtered. Huh. That's kind of weird. Options. Enter. So it's saying down here, I'm searching options. If I press escape, it quits the menu. And then I have to press escape again to quit that thing. Which seems wrong. So I'll put another to do in here as well. Escape searching before escaping the menu. Top level return. There's a thing where I'm actually yeah, so if I press return, does anyone else include this key binding? Main, search. Commit message controller. Okay, menu controller. When you call return, it will close it. I would rather not do that. I'd rather say like, if searching, close search. Is it the same deal here? Commit message controller. We wouldn't be searching in there anyway. Remote branches controller. Returns to remote list. Oops. Escape. So I think I'm allowed to just say self.modes dot searching dot active. How do I kill off my search? I don't have a way to do that in these controllers yet, so add way to exit search from a controller. I probably should just do that now. How do I do that? So I got to go to, there's a thing called GUI common, which is just some commonly used things. And we have open search here, so it's fair to say I can close search, open search, or like exit search. And I'll just call, which one was it? Handle search prompt escape, on search escape, exit search. Yes, this one here. Oops. Okay. Does this actually return an error that I care about? Well, I'll think about adding an error handling to that later. But often some of these things are just returning an error to satisfy an interface, not actually for this. They don't actually return an error when you look into it, but I'll need to dig a bit deeper there. Okay. Actually, at the very least, I can just log it. I mean, these things rarely cause problems. Okay. So back over in my menu controller, exit search. Why can't I do that? Controller common .c. That's what I'm doing. Helper common, GUI common. Oh, it's not in my interface. Sriracha. I wonder if OpenSearch actually does it get used. I don't know why I can't just return an error from this. Okay, but does it compile? Let's go in here, add, escape. Sweet, no escape again. Okay, cool. There was another place I wanted to do that, which was to do, was it my remote controller? Remote branch controller. There it is. If self dot modes dot searching dot active. Is that what I did in the other place? Cool. Now I can't test that just yet because I actually haven't made my remote branches view work with filtering. But let's just save this as. Oh, hang on. I actually don't need this anymore. Yeah. More progress. Can't think of a good name for it, but like I said, I'm bad with names. Okay, what's my next step? So let's just clean this up a bit. I guess now I just want to go through these things and kind of hook them all up. So I've done my menu list context. Okay, files list context. I'm wondering, should I do that now or leave that till later? Because it's going to be much harder than the other ones. I think I'm going to skip it for now. I'm just going to try and get through these other ones. So remote list context. I'll get my branches context here for reference. Okay, remote. So what do I have to do? Get model becomes get items. Oops. Start passing in this dude. Get display strings we're no longer going to pass in. This is going to be a filtered list view model, and likewise here, new filtered list view model. I'm just going to steal this. Let's get items, needle, and then this will not be a branch. This will be a remote. I'm just going to call it item. Yep, that's good. I'll need to define get display strings internally. So grab this guy. And what does that do? GUI.state.model.remotes. That will instead just be viewModel.getModel. And then my my modes thing will be GUI context state.modes.diffing. Okay, this guy's now being passed into here. ViewModel. Cool. Okay, now back over here, we want to pass in this guy. That's funny, it's still complaining. Okay, it's the second argument. But we want to use the right key here, so remote context key. It's kind of unfortunate. I still don't like the fact we're duplicating this and like here and here. So I prefer if there was just a one place we were defining it. But to do that, I have to make this like a function that takes a function, which is not necessarily the worst option. I just wonder if that's going to just make the code unnecessarily hard to read. Anyway, I can refactor it later if I want to. Okay, so let's quickly see if that compiles and we'll test it. Remotes, origin, Darwid, Korean, branches. That's funny. So the number of branches I can't search on, but I don't really care about that. That's okay. Alright, what else? I was just wondering, I wonder if like these functions, not these functions, this function should live in like its own place where each of them have their own way of doing it. Because it's a pure function, and arguably it might be nice to have them all in one place. It comes back to the whole grouping by type versus grouping by feature thing. I can imagine it being good to see them all side by side and get a good idea of how they all do what they do. But it also means we're having to update more places if we go and add a new context. So I might leave them here for now. Okay, so remote list context is done. Let's just repeat the process. This will be remote branches, and I'll steal this and put it in here. Okay, who's using a basic view model? Okay, these guys. So there's a few to go here. Filtered list view model. Filtered list view model. Get model becomes get items. Get display strings is no longer passed in. We're going to pull this guy. And let's see, get remote branch list display string. So that's going to be this. And so this model becomes sub.get model. Is that right? View model.get model. And this becomes context state.modes. Okay, this guy needs more arguments, so I'm just going to steal this and give it, change that to item. Remote branch? I'm going to include the remote name in that. In fact, full name, let's use that. Okay. What else? So we've got view model here, nothing's complaining. Back over my list context. See if that works. Post. Disable. Pull. Okay, cool. Awesome. So what is this? This is probably doesn't need to be committed just yet. Okay, it's remote list context, remote branches context done. Who's next? Tags. Okay, let's just grab this guy. I might actually just save myself some time and go through here and do each one. Although it makes it harder to test in between. No, I can't do that. Okay, tags, context key. I'll steal this. And I'll put it in here. And this will now take this. And this is now going to be this. Get display strings. Get items. It's funny, I'm doing this repetitively, but I keep forgetting the actual fastest flow that I could be doing. Tag.name. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. View model, get model. Gonna invoke it. Okay. It'd be nice if that was a nicer error, where it says, you can't use this thing as this thing, perhaps you should be calling this function. Oh. Cool, let's try tags. Ooh. Right, I gotta pass in this dude. I already have done that. How do branches get there? Not enough arguments, tags. What the hell? Get items. And there's a view. Oh, there's no view. Oops. Okay, cool. Let's try that again. Cool. Okay, that's done. Next up is my branch commits list context, which I've just already done. Funnily enough, I'm still using, wait, what the fuck? Oh, branch commits. Yes, the commits for the current branch, as opposed to branches. Okay, yes, yeah, so I've got some filtering here, but I'm going to throw that away. And, okay, this is going to be a little bit more involved than the previous ones, but let's go through the same flow as before. So, filter list view model. Oh, what is this? Local commits view model? Which itself uses a basic view model. Okay. That's fine. I can just use that. So long as I pass in my other stuff here. So, get needle. And then, actually that should be enough. And then here I can do toString is a function that takes commit pointer models.commit and returns commit.name. I guess you probably want to include other things here. Okay, so now this thing can take my get needle and toString, and then that's happy. But I need to now pass in more stuff here. And once again, I should just be, oh, actually no, I shouldn't copy and paste here. I'll grab that needle. Okay, that's happy now. So it's looking good. Get display strings is no longer going to be passed in. I'm going to grab this. And I'm also going to put this in here. It's funny I'm calling it local commits in one place and then branch commits in another place. It's kind of not great. Okay, get filtered commits must. Oh yeah, so this just needs to be. .model documents. Right, so now I'm going to paste in my display strings. Okay, let's get this guy. So we can use that isFocus thing. Get selected. I can use my view model there. Get model. Screen mode. Helpers. I forgot to add helpers to my thing. I'll need to do that. Give you context state. Give you context state dot modes dot diffing. This can just be c.userconfig, commit char, index, length, should show graph, model bisect info. Fuck. So we do have a case where we've got to use that model for other things. That's super annoying. Dang. Huh. Well, for now, I'm just going to add that to the interface. GUI context state, that's what it is. Okay. One thing also that's not idiomatic here is I use underscores in package names, and I just do that because this idea that you should always find like a one-word thing does not make any sense to me. So I just use an underscore. Okay, so now they've got bisect info. So now someone's going to complain here saying this isn't being satisfied in the interface, so I need to go and do that. Bisect info. Self.state.model.bisect info. Okay, cool. This can now just use GUI context state.bisect info. Should show graph. Let's see, that requires modes. It wants to know if you have a needle. So I'm just gonna, because I haven't yet copied over the other one, I'm gonna just copy and paste this function for now, and then when I bring the other one across, the like reflogs commit, whatever it is, subcommits, I'll delete the other one. So I can't think of a good place to put this, so I'm just going to say what the hell? Yes. So this is going to take a GUI context state, and let's just do this. So this is going to be state dot modes.filtering.active, sorry, modes. Why can I not do that? Ah, yes, this is actually an interface, not a pointer. Okay, cool. We're now going to say that given the fact you're calling this function, you clearly are someone who does show a graph, so we're just going to lose this. Contains by state.modes.searching, searching in context. Right, so instead I'm just going to say if state.needle is not an empty string, also return false. This can be state.screenMode. This thing is interesting. I need to pass in a user config, which funnily enough does not exist on my state. It feels weird to put it there, to be honest. So I'm just going to pass it in here. It's config, user config. Okay, so now I can go back to here. I can call should show graph. It's going to pass in my GUI context state and then my user config, which is c.userconfig. Yep. Okay, final step. I need to add my helpers struct to this thing. So pointer to, is it types.helpers? Helpers.helpers. Okay, now this guy's going to complain saying it's not satisfying the interface. So, oops. Helpers? Okay. So now, why is that complaining? Don't know. Oh fuck, input cycle. Not again! Okay, let's find out why. Context requires helpers, which requires context. Shit. That's being defined in here. God, these fucking import cycles are frustrating. Because it's all happening at the type level. So I must do the dance. Let's find a new home for this thing that's a bit higher level. So it's currently living in context types. I don't know. Where else can I put this? Let's put it in a new thing called state. State.GUI context state. Okay. So let's replace this. Why is that undeclared? Context state, state.go. There's another import cycle. State, which calls helpers, which calls context. Sorry. Context calls state, which calls helpers, which calls context. Oh goodness. Okay. Why does helpers call context? How do I even find out? Controllers, helpers. So a few of these are using contexts. Yeah, so my helpers need context, and my context needs helpers. And why do I need that helper here? Cherry picked commit char set. Do I need helpers elsewhere here? Just for cherry picking. It feels ugly doing this. But it could be that the easiest thing to do here is just to add a thing saying like, give me my cherry picked commit char set. How does this thing work? Pretty small function. Slices.map, you get the data, which just does, okay. Cherry pick commits, function commit, return the char, new from slice, it's a set. How does it get the data? What? This is just grabbing it from modes. So all it's doing is it is cherry pick commit char set. Yeah, so I'm thinking actually it's probably a good idea not to include helpers here, because helpers let you go and do things like change things, which is a responsibility of a controller. So I suppose that import cycle not being allowed actually did make me think about that, so that's a good thing. But I still want to have this functionality accessible from my context, because I'm just trying to display something that's relating to some, it's like read-only code. So now the question is, should this live somewhere else? Let's see, so get data, grabs it from modes. I guess I can just copy and paste it, but that kind of feels dodgy. Slices.map, get data, cherry picked commits. But it really is doing some simple shit. You're just mapping across to some chars and then you're creating a set from it. So actually I think this is fine. There's no good reason why, well, there's some good reason why you want them to evolve in lockstep, but I can imagine that for the sake of displaying things, we might have different constraints, so I'm not feeling too bad about just going and using this directly in my context package. So let's see, let's find out where I'm supposed to be. Give you context state. This guy no longer has helpers. Why is it still complaining? Jeez, what the fuck have I done? The input cycle's still there. I need to go and get my thing and put it back where it was. State.go. Nope. The other state.go. This guy. No, whoops. Context. Context, perhaps. And then all the places that use types.this or whatever it was, state. So now we still need this thing to, we still need to get that from somewhere, so. Still got the import cycle. Undefined GUI, local commits context, that's fine. Let's find this thing again. Maybe it belongs in utils. It's just a slice of commits, and I want to get it to a, convert it to a set of commit chars. I could put it in the model. Where is it here? Okay, so okay, that's good. And now here, my local commits context, I could cool. No need for the capital C. So what am I doing? Here it is. Cool. Now, is anything still complaining? Blah. Fix. Cool. Now I'm going to save this because I don't want to mess things up again and have to revert anything. add more filterable contexts. Okay, so let's see, I've just done my branch commits. Subcommits is very much the same, the almost exact same thing, so hopefully it shouldn't be too hard. Grab this, check it here. This is now subcommits. I'm grabbing this. I'm moving in here. Get display strings. This also has its own view model. So let's place this, and we'll give it same thing as this. Models dot commit item dot name. You kind of want to give things the same logic here. So like, I'm just gonna make a function here called commit to string. I'll use that back in my local commits thing as well. Cool. Where should this live? I'm just going to put in my local commits one because that's like the main commits thing, so that's where you probably expect to find it. And it's complaining because there's another declaration. Did I not? Maybe I didn't save this file. Okay, back over here. What am I doing here? I'm saying my current context because this, so I should just say if GUI context state dot is focused. And this is just going to be my view model dot get selected. And then this is going to be, let's see, this is also the view model, get model. This is going to be, it's all like very similar to the other one, so it almost feels like I should just invoke that directly. Like, what's the actual difference? The difference is the actual, the get model call is focused, get selected. Yeah, so this is a good opportunity actually to dry this up. So my get display strings is going to be let's make a new function that takes a few more things. And it's going to take get items as a function that returns an array of commits, and it's also going to take my state. And I'm just going to paste this into there. And this thing will, and I'll call this like, I don't have a name for it just yet, but I'll just call it blah. And it's going to take viewModel get model. Actually, I don't need to call, I can actually just pass in the items directly. Yeah, let's do that. And then this is going to be, what's the next thing? GUI context state, start index, length. Okay, and then I'm going to, I should just be able to actually like, let's get my, let's put this thing over here. And I'm gonna steal this code. Here I'm gonna call it items. Okay, and I'm going to actually define this as a function. Get, commit, display, strings. Okay, instead of this, let's go back to view model. Get model. What will be my view model here? I think these guys had different view models. Yeah, they're technically different things. But they should still satisfy an interface. So I can't see which one it's trying to satisfy because I'm not actually being like clear about it. View model, maybe not. Do any of these have an interface at some point that they're satisfying? Nope. Whatever. Okay, I'm just gonna say selected, commit, and then also, what was the other one? Items or commits, I guess. And this is just going to be commits. Damn it! I need my user config again. And I'm going to put this in the place I had the should show graph. I'm going to chuck it in here and rename this to commits common. Okay, so now, where was I? Back over here. So my get display strings will now invoke this thing. So let's see, it's going to use this. Sorry, this. Get selected. User config, start index, and length. That goes in here. Cool, and then I'll do the same thing back over in my commits context. Just checking if I need anything changed. All looks good. Now these two things I expect to stay in lockstep because they really are rendering the same thing. This is, I'm talking about, oops, like in here, this should look exactly the same as this guy. So if that changes, we'll have to maybe pull this apart again, but I don't think that it will. Okay, get display strings is being passed in now. Okay, so what was the compile error? This was list context config line 7. Oh fuck, what's it complaining about? I just had to save it. What was the git commands thing? I don't know why that was there. Anyway, okay, so if I go into here and I search for fix, blah, sweet. If I expand it, fix, blah, cool. Okay, so our commits are done. What are we up to? Tags, list context, branch, commits, list context. Subcommits should show graph. I don't think we're using this anymore in this package, so I can just delete that. Reflog commits. Okay, I've got a few more to go. Let's see if we can blitz through it. What is this doing? Get reflog commit list display strings. So the reflog is different than the other ones because it doesn't show a graph and it's a bit more simplified. Although there's no good reason why I can't have authors here. But anyway, that's a topic for another time. So let's just go and say support graphy commit views filtering. Reflog commits list context. So let's go in here and I'm just going to get my branch one back because it's been a pretty good reference so far. Okay, we're just using a basic view model, so let's swap that around. Yep, and use this. Context state, needle is going to take a commit. This is going to be that function I made before. Commit to string. Where's that live? Let's move that to commit common. I could put this in my my models file, but it just doesn't feel appropriate because it's caring more about a very much UI-centric thing like filtering and what things you should filter on. So although if I put it here, it would be co-located with all the fields you might want to search on, it just does not feel like it belongs in this package. Because it's kind of more view specific. Okay, so new filtered list view model, get items. GUI context state, let's grab that. Commit to string, it's complaining because it does not match an inferred type. It's a bit confusing. I must be passing something in. What does this say again? Type string, oh, because I'm invoking it, yep. Okay. So that's that. Get display strings, I need to pull from here. And I also want to grab this. Reflog. Not enough arguments. That's better. Cool. Let's see, filtered reflog commits. That's just going to be view model, .get model again, screen mode, that cherry pick commit char set. How did I do that again? To char set. Oh, I can just call this function. modes diffing ref. Cool. And let's see if that works. I'm noticing some lag here, which I might need to address when I get to having like way too many things. Like if I go back here and I go and when I load Lazygit, it starts with 300 items, and if I go to the end, it goes and loads the rest. This is our, that's interesting, 3,000 items, 3,000 commits, but my reflog has more than 3,000. I guess that makes sense. So yes, it's going a little bit slower if I want to try and search for, let's go blah. It's not that slow though. But it would be nice if it was asynchronously going and making an update as opposed to each time I type it, because it kind of slows down my typing ability. So it'd be cool if you could do it asynchronously with some throttling involved. But let's continue what we're doing now and just put it to do async filtering with throttling. Okay, so commits done. Commits context done. I'll probably just squash these together at the end. Alright. Reflog, stash list. Okay. What is this? Stash. Stash entry. Name. I guess index is probably good to have here as well. Because it doesn't actually render it with the index. Okay, forget it. Okay, so that's looking good. Presentation, gonna now use this. Get display strings, now it gets passed to here. This comma always appears. And this is gonna be dot, no, not the needle, modes dot this thing. One thing that might have been a good idea, given that these are all just like direct functions, it might have been a good idea for me, because I already was thinking I had to do this at some point, to actually have like a presentation struct that has the methods for going and doing what you want, and that struct can then maybe maintain what state that it needs. But at the very least, if we find ourselves only needing to use this this thing here in the context of presentation stuff, then it should be fairly trivial to just refactor that to just make it a struct that has methods. But I'm not really against the way that it currently works, except that we're doing some duplicated stuff here. Like we have to get this diffing thing all the time because we have to display things differently whenever we're diffing, between two commits. All right. So get items. I gotta remember to standardize these names. Is that good? Let's try that. Master. Haha. Add option. I'm gonna assume that's actually what it's supposed to be. Okay. Stash. So only a couple more to go. Okay, commit files it renders a tree, so I'm not going to do that one just yet. I'll wait till the end. Submodules is interesting because actually no, it's not interesting at all. It's just a list. Okay, so same shit. Grab this, get view model. Should I include the path? I'll just do name for now. I think the name's the only thing we actually display. And you won't need to, there's no way you're going to have so many submodules that you need to filter it anyway, so should be okay. So we get the name, and then we're going to get those display strings. Chuck that in here, and then also back here, let's grab this thing. I actually don't have any submodules in my thingo, but I probably can test a submodules integration test. Submodule add, enter, remove, reset. Let's go and do a sandbox in this. Must be absolute path. I might need to watch this thing first to see what it does. Other repo. Okay. One. Let's try and add the same submodule again under a different name. 2. I'm going to filter it down to just 2 and just 1. Sweet. Okay. What else we got? Suggestions list. Okay. So this one actually is interesting because it's not using the model for these suggestions, but that might not matter. So I'm going to just do the same dance as before. Suggestions context key. I might not even want to have suggestions with filtering because it would be very weird, but I'll do it anyway and just see what happens. Okay. Types.suggestion. Label. Yeah, label's fine. GUI.state.suggestions. Let's give that a go. So my suggestions view will appear if I'm actually already filtering, which is quite strange. So if I say A, and I go down to here, and I search for app, that's super weird. But it's not like it's making things that much worse. Oh, hello, I'm still searching when I press escape. So if I don't have a suggestions controller, no I don't. Might be one of the things that wasn't refactored away in the great refactoring over the holidays. Where does that happen? Suggestions, context key. Huh. I just don't know. Suggestions. So it's kind of bundled up with my confirmation panel code. Which would presumably have a key binding set somewhere. Oh, hello. Return. When you hit return on suggestions, it will handle close. Does that get modified? Nope. Oh, hang on. Wrapped confirmation function. Close confirmation prompt. So it's really more like if GUI.state. I don't know. There's a lot of complicated code for something that would never happen. Maybe I should just be saying you can't search within this suggested suggestions view. But how do I do that? How do I do it in the first place? How do I open search? I assume it's in key bindings, and it's the, let's see, open search. In a list controller, you call open search. Take a context. Perhaps a context should have like a method called is searchable. Great, you pass in a context. Gives it back a controller. Context. Start search, open search. Handler, open search. Description, start search. Now I'm wondering if this is going to be more complicated by saying that certain things can't be searched. Maybe it makes more sense to actually have the original thing. Back over here I say if GUI.state.modes.searching. searching in context. It's such a bizarre thing that it could even do this. State dot context. It's going to be context dot suggestions key. You just return GUI dot exit search. Let's try that. Okay, that's probably less surface area than having to go and update that interface. So there you go, suggestions, filtering. Oh, we're almost there. I think that's the end. Okay, so now, just verify that it can still compile. Let's do something a bit more interesting. We need to get this files tree working. So, I'm just going to start moving this across to the new shape, just like I did every other one, and we'll just see when we hit a snag. Okay, so this thing's going to be copied. So it has its own view model. State.context.file tree view model, which is just this guy. GUI.state.model.submodules. What? Fuck. I need submodules. It's so annoying. So it sounds like I'm just shooting myself in the foot by restricting these things from seeing other models. So be it. Let's add a thing, GUI state, to the actual interface first. So probably given we're going to do that means we shouldn't be passing in get model as well, because it's basically the exact same thing. Although this is really about the specific model that I care about, so maybe there's still value in that. But it does now mean there's two ways to access the same thing, so that's not ideal. Okay, get display strings. Oh yes, this thing is now failing because I haven't satisfied the interface. And now I shouldn't even need bisect info here. I'm going to remove that from my interface. Yep. Okay, cool. So it's still, it's still slim, but it contains a lot of things within each of these things. Okay. So what are we up to now? Get display strings. I guess let's just see if that compiles. Good. It's all still working. And maybe I'll also migrate my commit files as well, and then we'll worry about how to actually handle filtering. So let's see. This guy comes here. This guy comes here. Boy, is this an angry error. Oh yes, I need to get rid of that. Still says too many arguments. Yes, because I need to get this guy. Commit files, view model, let's use my view model. So this is simplifying things, at least. Commit files, not view model, it's just view model. This is GUI context state dot modes dot diffing dot ref, and then this is something I haven't got on my thing, which is the patch manager. So let's just add that wherever it went. Git.patch.patch manager. There we go. And then back over in the place that actually satisfies this interface. Okay. Now this is only being used here, but I can imagine other contexts that need to make use of this as well. So that's why I don't think it's necessarily worthwhile passing this in as a separate argument, although it may be that's a better idea in the long run. Okay, let's see if it compiles. Starting to refactor tree views. So now for the hard part. What's this thing do? It embeds an interface for a file tree. Camera base, toggle show tree. Right. What's this thing? New commit file tree. So what is this? This is the view model that maintains some state-based stuff, and then this contains the actual state of the tree. And this is an interface that says get file, get all items, get all files. Now this was made before generics came out, so that's why it's all specific to commits. Commit files, or like diff files, the files within a commit or within a diff. and that's why it's not combined with the work tree files. So if I have an interface here, and this satisfies that interface, could I just, in my actual view model, pass in a thing saying here's how I filter things, and if I want to get my, let's see, maybe I can use something else here that has the same interface being satisfied but applies the filtering. So let's see, funnily enough, get files is actually a function already. Huh. This could be really easy then. Get files is this. Let's think. Get files. Get model. Where's that filter list thing? I can't use this because it's not actually, what's the word for it? It's supposed to use a basic view model internally, but this function could be reused. Get filtered model has get needle, get items, and toString. So let's actually do that. Get filtered model is a function that returns. I need a function. It takes these things. And I want it to return a function that returns this. What the hell? Empty type parameter list. Function. Arguments, and it's going to return a function that returns t. Type parameter is t, function is t, return function t. What? Oh, sorry, function with no arguments returns t. There we go. So get filtered model. Get filtered model function. Okay, I think this is going to work. So this, rather than saying get model here, I'll say, I'll make this get items like the other ones. Okay, where do I get my needle from? Just, no, I'm recording some programming. I'm gonna find out how to mute this thing. I'm back. Okay, so get needle to string. That's not defined because it comes from my GUI context state. And then this is also not defined because I have to probably define it here. So let's find out how to do that. It's going to be a function. I hate how when it tries to complete your function for you, it's using type parameters. This will take something. File tree dot file node. Commit file node in this case. Jesus. Node dot path. Why is I complaining? Too many return values. This returns a function that returns the slice. I'm asking for a function that returns a commit file specifically. Whoops. Commit file. And I gotta find out what this thing has. I call it name to do a random path. Okay, fair enough. Too many return values. Have string, want nothing. String. Man, it would be so good if there was like just type inference about what was happening inside the function. Okay, everything's happy. Have we done it properly? Nope. Actually, let's just make sure that's... Huh? Common. No, it's definitely not working. View model, press a new one of these guys, get filtered model function. Takes get items, my needle function, and a function that returns the name of my file, or the path of my file. Why is it not working? Display strings. It says render commit file tree. What the fuck? Tree.tree. What does that do? That's an interface. Where's it implemented by? Here. What the fuck? Toggle all for patch. But who's actually defining it? Oh, this guy, okay. Self.tree is a pointer to a node. Okay. Where's this tree being set? Get all files calls get files. Set tree. Okay, so it's calling get files here, which will be filtered, but it's not calling set tree necessarily every time that it could be. Refresh commit files context, set tree. The fuck? Do I even need to be setting a tree like that? Set filter, set tree. What if instead of doing set tree, I simply regenerated it when I needed to? Build tree from commit file. So currently when I'm calling tree, I return self.tree. If I just did this. Typically the tree is not that large. So I think this is going to be okay. Set tree. I'm going to delete this. And let's see. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. The file tree view model, interestingly, that set tree is a bit more advanced, so I'm going to ignore that for now. I commit file tree uses iTree, which uses set tree. Okay, what's going to complain if I try and compile? File tree view model, set tree undefined. I file tree.set tree undefined. Okay, that's kind of annoying because they're both using the same context. So I guess I'm just gonna have to, when I call tree here, let's see, dot tree. A lot of things are calling dot tree. I'm still not sure it's going to be that slow. To just replace every call of dot tree with dot, like, tree. If I go dot tree, and I can just delete this. Well, actually, no, I'll do this. Show tree, and then here. Return. It's funny. How come I'm not allowed to do this? What's tree return? Oh, because it's an interface. Right. Let me make one for a concrete type, which is just private. This is an unfortunate thing you have to do sometimes where you can't, to satisfy an interface that requires you to say tree inode, you can't just have a thing like here, like saying tree that returns a concrete thing that happens to satisfy this interface. You actually have to type it as being that interface. So you have to do this dance where you kind of wrap the, you gotta wrap this guy in the function with a different type. And that is due to a lack of covariance. This thing now I can make, I guess I'll just get all of these and just make them all say lowercase. Okay. And I'll need to go and do some tests to see whether that's going to be too painful in terms of performance. Can I compile it now? File tree view model.go 78. I won't do that anymore. Now this was just so that I could do it here, so, whoa, what the hell? What the fuck was that? There's no cursor here, and it says it's out of -1. So something's not. Oh, set tree is still defined. Right. Didn't I just delete something? No, I deleted. No, that doesn't make any sense. What did I just do? File tree view model has set tree, which itself calls set tree on the other thing. Set tree is no longer being called. That shouldn't matter. But is this thing being called? It's being called from a test file. But it's not being called from the GUI package, I guess. So where would I want this to be called from? So it gets new files is get all files, selected node is get selected. For when you stage the old file of a rename and the new file is in a collapsed directory, I expand to path. So this is kind of mutative. So perhaps we actually shouldn't have removed all the calls to set tree if this is something that just happens sometimes. So where did I change? It was here. I think I'm okay to not do it for the commit files panel though. Commit file tree view model. What was it doing? Commit file tree. That's funny, it's not even actually being changed. Must have been calling like the underlying thing. Okay, let's see what happens now. Funnily, that wasn't actually specific to commit files though. Yeah, what the fuck? What's going on? Such a strange thing to not render my cursor. So I go get display strings, view model. Is this guy, which takes get items. I'm giving it this filtered thing. Get items, commit files, needle, render commit file tree. Makes no sense. Let's see if the same thing happens with the files thing, like this guy, and then that might help us investigate. So if we go to I guess it's in, is it file context, working tree context? Okay, so I'm gonna copy this. That's a bit better. Is there a similar thing here? That should really just be dot path. Oh, it requires an interface. Fuck it. Alright, for consistency, let's move this back to being get path. Worry about that later. So where was I? Commit files, working tree context. We're now filtering. This guy's going to use my view model here, which is filtered. And let's see, get files, new file tree. So this one already has some filtering logic based on whether we're including like staged or unstaged. So I guess you would just have those two filters like combined. Does it work? Model. What about go? It's not really enough things here for me to easily see if that's working properly. I've got a command rf that just adds a bunch of random crap. VCU COR. Wow. File tree. File tree. Alright, it works. That's cool. So with not a whole lot of a change, it was more, like mostly just comes down to going adding this filtering pre-step thing. We managed to get that guy working pretty well. And because we're filtering the actual files before it becomes the tree, it means that the tree just kind of naturally becomes what you would expect. So even though I'm saying, like, for example, filtered, see how I'm saying like filtered, yeah, so filtered, so this thing matches, but file tree obviously doesn't, but we still show that because it's giving you context as to where these things live. So I think that's pretty good. The question still remains, why is it not working here? It won't even show my cursor. That's kind of weird. So let me just quickly go and save this. Almost fully working. I'll lose these things. My cursor is gone. I'm using this here, here, here. Let's go back to this context config. Commit files, commit files. What does this do? Escape line by line. It might be in here that we have the problem. Get display strings. And so the problem we currently have is we're not filtering at all. Oh, what the fuck? Maybe we are filtering? File tree. That's interesting. If I say file tree, it includes everything with file tree in the path. Even if it's not the actual end thing. I think that's okay. So the only problem is I just can't see my cursor for some reason. What the hell? I use LG for the installed Lazygit, so I don't need to worry about whether it's got a bug or not. Just gonna have a look through here. What did we change? So I used to call set tree more often. If tree equals no, return nil. So this is in file tree.go. That probably won't help me, but I need to be careful here because this should be the lowercase, because this thing being nil will behave a lot more nicely than this thing being nil. So it's not really, it shouldn't really affect anything with commit files. Commit files panel. We no longer say set tree on the view model. And what was happening in that view model? Huh. So we were calling set tree. I clearly do not have a feature yet for actually going to the right line. What is that, 63? Get files in div. Refresh commit files context. You set the files and then you do a post refresh update on commit files. Get selected item ID. if I just used get items, would it work then? No. Create file tree. Get all items, length, tree.size, self.collapsed paths -1. Get all files. Tree. Oh, this is still using this tree thing. Right. And let's go back and change this thing. Moment of truth. Cool. I think it's supposed to be everything, like. I say haha a lot. Blah. Sweet. Cool. I think it's a good place to end it there. So let me commit this. Everything filtering. So there's a few more steps to go here. I need to be able to still include the logic for searching in like a panel like this, for example, which I assume is just completely broken now. Yeah, it doesn't do anything. So I need to get that back. And then I need to go and clean up a few things and add some tests. And yeah, but at least at the end of this video, we made it to a pretty good place where we are filtering things down, and we've managed to dry up the code a bit so that there's not too many places where we have duplication. So yes, if you've made it this far along the journey, then I'm impressed. But at any rate, as always, if you'd like to sponsor me, please, I guess I'll add a link to the description, but you can sponsor me through GitHub sponsors or through DonorBox. So it makes it much easier to justify spending weekends like this pumping out Lazygit code. Alright, till next time.